cathodic protection and is now currently working on her wastewater operator license level C, while performing her current duties as the Utilities and Public Works Administrative Assistant. She looks forward to serving the City of Williston for years to come.
Christy.
Yes, sir.
We sure do appreciate everything you do for us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to give you this certificate of recognition.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
He wants you to go out there. I can't.
Alex Rodriguez was hired on November 1st of 2021. Alex started his career with the city as a gas technician, eventually cross-training with water and sewer. Within the first year, he obtained his Southern Cathodic Protection, Water Distribution Level 3, his gas license, and wastewater collections license. Alex then was promoted to crew leader. The following years, he obtained a Master Evaluator Gas Cert, Water Distribution Level 3, Backflow Preventer, and is currently working on his Wastewater Operator's License Level C. He's enjoyed his time working for the city that he grew up in and looks forward to serving the community in any way possible.
Alex, hi. How are you doing? We want you to know that we recognize all your efforts and we appreciate the service you do to the city and the citizens. I'd like to give you this certificate of recognition.
Dalton Brown was hired on October 27th of 22. Dalton was initially hired onto Streets and Parks as a park ranger. In January of 2023, he transferred to the water department. Since then, he has been cross-trained in gas and sewer collections. Dalton now holds a gas license, water distribution license, collection license, stormwater operator license. He loves working for his hometown, and he can't wait to see what new opportunities await him in the city's utility department.
Ralph, we'd like you to know that we really do appreciate everything you do for us and the citizens of this city. And I would like to give you this certificate of recognition for all the work that you have done. Did I pull up the wrong one? It's not my fault. Somebody else stacked them.
All right. Chip is currently this evening in a class in Alabama studying for his next gas license, but Chip started with the City of Williston on November 8th, 2022. He worked in the electric department and transferred to the CalLink division. After a while, he found his permanent place in the gas department. Chip has acquired a gas license, electric metering certificate, collections license, as well as advanced regulator and measurement qualifications for the gas department. Chip is responsible for all delinquent accounts as well as all of our gas compliance. Ralph Curry. Ralph and Samantha recently made the move from the high-energy environment of Las Vegas to the quiet, laid-back town of Williston, Florida, in search of a slower pace of life. After years of navigating the constant hustle and bustle of the city, both Ralph and his better half yearned for a change that would offer more peace, nature, and a close-knit community. In Williston, they hope to embrace a simpler lifestyle, enjoying the serenity of rural life, outdoor activities, and a stronger sense of connection with their surroundings. Ralph started the work with the City of Williston on February 6th of 2023. Ralph has completed his gas license, his sewer collections licenses. He joined the gas department after years of serving with the Las Vegas water and wastewater divisions. He now brings that experience to the City of Williston crew.
Are you Ralph?
I am.
Okay.
After 2 years. All right. It only took you 2 years, man.
That's it. You have no idea. Ralph,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Curry,
Yes, sir.
we would like to let you know that we do truly, it's not just words, we truly do appreciate having you here in our city and your expertise to help our city and its citizens. And I'd like to present you with this certificate of appreciation.
Thank you, sir.
All right? Thank you, sir.
Last but not least, he's running late, but we'll read his bio. Josh Fordham started with the City of Williston on August 7th, 2023. Josh is a wastewater operator trainee for the city. Josh enjoys executing the day-to-day operations at the wastewater treatment plant and assisting other departments as needed. He is seeking new challenges and opportunities to advance himself, like getting his gas license, and professionally and gain knowledge in wastewater treatment and in the general field of all public utilities. He looks forward to serving the community in new and exciting ways. Again, he's not here tonight, but anyways, he deserves an applause. And that's it. Thank you, Council President.
Yes, no, it stands. Yeah, like, there's four of them.
Where is it?
All right. Thank you, guys. Item 4, public participation. This is your first of 2 opportunities to address the council. At this time, anyone in the audience can come to the podium and speak for 5 minutes on any topic other than what is on the agenda. Anybody? No? All right. Item 5, consent agenda. These are the council minutes from March 4th, 2025, and will be in next month's agenda packet. Right, man? Yep. All right. Can we get a approval, or are we going to wait for next month?
There's nothing there. I'll wait until next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Table.
Yep.
All right. So we'll just table that. Item 6, updates. Staff and board and council updates. City Manager Sue Bedette.
I remembered to turn it on, Aaron. All right, just a couple of things I just wanted to apprise everybody on. Thursday, March 6th, Donald, Alex, and I visited VatCon in Green Cove Springs. I'm going to pass around a couple of examples of their trucks that we were looking at. So the company was established in 1986. They have manufactured more than 9,000 custom-built truck-mounted machines to serve public and private environmental markets globally. And they also manufacture over 30,000 parts at their factory. They were like a mini Amazon, if you will. When we went in, the parts were actually placed on this level, and it went all the way up. Like, I can't even tell you how many stories. It was pretty impressive. They have over 300 people at their Florida location, and they're 100% employee-owned. So it was a very impressive operation. And the example, I know not everybody knows what their trucks do or what they're like, but this is the best example I could get, and I had the aha moment when we were standing there kind of watching it. I remember we had a water leak in Bronson, and one of our utility crews was literally in the hole with the water coming up, literally trying to fix the leak down below, and this truck would actually be, taking the water out faster than she could, fix the leak, so that she wasn't actually constantly standing in, water up to her head. So it's a pretty cool truck. I know it's very expensive, so we are planning on visiting a few more locations. But this one was, like I said, very, very impressive, and there's a couple of examples of their trucks. Monday, March 10th, last Monday, I attended the Levy County's 180th birthday celebration at the Levy County Courthouse. There were some constitutional officers in attendance. Clerk of the Courts, Matt Brooks, was there. Supervisor of Elections, Tammy Jones. Tax Collector, Michelle Langford. Levy County Fire Rescue, Levy County Sheriff's Office, and Judge Louis Bustamante from the 8th Judicial Circuit of Florida. And they were food trucks, pretty well attended. It was a nice celebration for the county. Wednesday, March 12th, I attended the Levy County Affordable Housing Advisory Committee meeting. And basically what we're doing at this point is we're trying to come up with a definition for affordable housing, which it's pretty wordy, but I'm going to read it so you guys have an idea. Affordable housing means that monthly rent or monthly mortgage payments, including taxes and insurance, do not exceed 30% of the amount, which represents the percentage of the median annual gross income for the household, or any housing development funded through any local, state, or federal entity, program, or grant, or any housing development that designates 25% of development for affordable housing. That's kind of what the committee has come up with so far. Whether or not that's going to be approved by the Levy County BOCC is another story, but that's kind of what we've come up with so far. Thursday, March 13th, I attended the Williston Chamber of Commerce luncheon over at Archie's. I'd never been there before, so that was a very nice venue. And then that evening, I was with Councilor Jones. We attended the Swanee River League of Cities board meeting and quarterly meeting in Brantford. And the focus of that meeting was on preventing fraud in the workplace. And last but not least, last night, Monday, March 17th, I attended the ribbon cutting ceremony at Sister's Place with Latricia, Jonathan, and BJ, and Councilor Jones was there as well. Food was delicious. There were probably well over 100 people in attendance, and definitely want to commend Michelle Fortner on her efforts to bring a larger footprint to the city of Williston. It was a really, really nice event. And that's everything that I have.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one question.
Yep.
Does the state not have a definition for affordable housing?
The state does, but the county's coming up with their own. They gave us many different examples of, this county does this city does this, and we're trying to kind of come up with our own for Levy County.
So we can do our own.
Correct.
Not preempted by the state.
Correct.
Okay, I didn't
Absolutely.
realize that.
Yep, but the
'Cause I knew
BOCC
the
is going to have
state
to vote
did.
on it. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Madam City Manager, so what did you do with the rest of your week?
Yeah.
Various and sundry other things.
Okay. Staff. Mr. Stiegel?
Yes, sir. So a couple of things that I wanted to mention that were happening out at the airport. We're finishing up a project out there, Taxiway G realignment and repaving. And I wanted to give a shout out to the parks crew. We had to edge the runway, and that I don't think it's been done since 2006 when the main runway was paved. So
Wow.
I hopped on the edger that Jonathan's team dropped off and edged the whole runway, and then they brought a couple of crews out to basically scoop the sod off the side of the runway so that it could get repainted. It was a pretty lengthy process. I don't know if you realize, it sounds very simple, but it's a 7,000-foot runway. And a lot of the places there were entire squares of sod that had grown up over the edge. So it was fun. The whole process took about 3 days. Between it took me about probably 5 hours to edge it all. And then Jonathan's team took care of a large portion of the rest of it, and my team helped out, some here and there. But it was very thankful to have that help, because shoveling all that stuff would have been problematic. Second is we have the NATA Formation Flying Clinic. Will be taking place starting next Thursday. It's a formation flying clinic for older radial engine aircraft. We've had it every year for the past 3 years, I think. It's a really good thing for us because they buy them about a month's worth of fuel in about 4 days. For avgas, and the only downside is that there's a lot more aviation activity in the area. So you'll see, the citizens can expect an uptick in traffic. If you see what looks like military airplanes flying in formation over your houses, you're not in trouble. It's all just part of the training exercises that they're doing, getting ready for Sun and Fun, which is a air show down in Lakeland.
Is that this coming weekend or the following weekend?
The following, so they'll start showing up not this Thursday but next, and it'll go through Sunday. And if anybody wants to come out, I would highly recommend getting there somewhere Friday or Saturday around 8:30 to 9 o'clock to watch the first sortie of the day when everybody takes off together. It's a pretty cool event.
All right.
Sorry. Lastly, we got a call from FWC last night. They were, scrambling to go looking for the girls that were out there on a paddleboard. And we had one of my crew members, answered the call and stayed there until about 11:30 last night. Standing by, waiting on them to come in and getting fuel. I think he ended up pumping like 150 gallons to FWC, but it was Michael Beasley. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him for answering that call. That's all I have.
Thank you. Staff, anybody else? Police Chief Rolls.
And to add to Benton's story, they located them this morning, so they were found safe. So good end of that
Good.
story. just a few updates from the police department. The new DART system, the firearm simulator, has arrived. We've been playing with it so we can learn and get familiar with it. We're in the process now of renovating the space that Benton allowed us to use out at the airport. We'll be out there working tomorrow, getting it all cleaned up and set up so we can get the system installed. The second suspect in the Malik Hall homicide was sentenced last week to 15 years prison sentence, DOC. And we have received a contract from Noble Global in reference to the school zone speed cameras. I've forwarded to our attorney for her to review, and we will bring it to the next council meeting for you all to review. One other thing I have is for those who are interested, Law Day is May 2nd over in the Swanee. It's a real nice event. They have it every year. Most of us have been to it. If you haven't, it's something that you probably should go and experience one time. So May 2nd is Law Day. The rest of it I would give at, the rest of the stuff I have I would give at later date in our comments. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Mr. President,
Yes.
just briefly, I also wanted to tag on. The chief and I have been talking a lot about the new immigration requirements that are being levied upon cities at this point. You will see a memorandum of agreement for your consideration on the next agenda. I will send that out beforehand, so please, it's not a terribly long document, but I do want to just make sure that if there are any questions, feel free to give me a call before the next city council meeting, because it's not super easy to understand. So you will see that in your inboxes.
All right.
May I ask a question of the attorney?
Yes.
Is this being sent down from the federal government?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I did not write that. Just to clarify.
Okay. Any staff, anybody else? Okay. Council?
Just want to ask the attorney how the RFP is doing for the top of the hill.
I'm not sure which RFP for the top of the hill. you're
For
talking
the
about.
property at the top of the hill that we own, that we would like for somebody to lease.
In the triangle?
No, the
Oh, the pace. I apologize. We refer to it as a couple of different things. That RFP, I'm not 100% sure where we sit with it, but I can get you an update at the next meeting.
okay. I thought we were going to see it tonight, but I'm waiting on it. Thank you.
All right. Driving by that property, I'm wondering, could we kind of clean it up a little bit? Because there's some blocks laying on the side, not the big slab of concrete, of course, but just clean it up a little bit.
May I get
Thank you.
some clarity here? Is this the property that did formerly belong to Mr. Peso that we have taken from him?
Yes, sir.
So I will bring to the council the question that I was asked. I told them no. Somebody said, since you guys are going to have that, could I come and take the palm trees?
Somebody
And-
asked me for them too.
Huh?
Somebody asked me if they could get them too.
I told them, I said, look, the property, the city might do something with it. They might sell it. That person might want the palm trees.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they're going to give you permission to get it. But if you want to give them permission, you can do it.
Okay.
I say leave them till we got a new owner. But
Mr. Mayor, do you have anything?
we'll compare notes later.
do. I do, sir. I have two things that I'd like to bring out. At our first meeting of the month, I had a student that was awarded Outstanding Student Award, and her name was misspelled. So I want to get it on record that her name is MylahReza. And we have filled out a new certificate. I will give it to the clerk, and the clerk will see that she gets it unless the clerk tells me something else. Okay? The other thing is, I guess it's tomorrow. Who's going to the Swanee River League, whatever it is, tomorrow?
That would be Rural County Day.
Yes, Rural County Days.
Right.
Who's going? Sue? Jonathan? Any other council members? Okay, the League of Mayors is having a meeting at the same time. So Sue, I may ask my wife to hang around with you so she's not bored sitting there. She has to go with me because I cannot drive that distance safely. That's all my questions.
Like
Thank you.
everybody sit
Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How do we go about getting the roadway property cleaned up over on the northeast side around 11th? I believe that's 11th Avenue. It's right off the road.
Could be something better than that. I'm not sure.
As you're coming into Williston, you look off to the right.
Which road? 27?
27th. Is it straight? Yeah. So how do we go about getting that property cleaned up, those properties cleaned up? That's along that road.
I'm not sure what property she means exactly.
So we can clean the right-of-ways up, no problem. Just put in a work order with those. As far as the properties, that's a different question for somebody else.
I think Ms. Hines is referring to the first two properties. When you're heading west on 27, you make a right on 11th Street. The very first two properties, including the corner, which would be the third property, are all abandoned, are all in disrepair, and I think she's probably seeking to see what type of code action can be done.
Right. To try to figure out if somebody can start looking at getting that cleaned up.
Are they across
Those
from
areas.
the Spin City? Yeah, that's 10th. That's 10th. Okay, got to go down another one.
So yeah, you have Spin City,
Uh-huh.
and then you go down right there
One
before
more.
you turn left on 11th.
Yeah.
You have an area, and then across the street from it is an area. I mean, I've talked about it before.
Send Don to
so-
check it out.
So I just need addresses because I can't do it that way. But if you guys could email me the addresses, then I'll see what, we'll see if they're already under code enforcement.
Is
Sometimes
it vacant lot or got a house on it?
The lots are vacant.
The lots are vacant. Okay.
It's just the grass is growing.
so just long grass.
It's more than grass. I mean, it's an eyesore when you drive into town.
So there's just to be clear, if it's been cleared, which I think this might be those properties I wanted to foreclose on. Yeah. If it's been cleared, then we can ask them to cut grass. But if it's like a foresty type area, we can't ask them to clean it up. So if it's been cleared in the past,
So it has been cleared in the past, and it has grown up in the past, and it was cleared again, and now it's grown up again. When I initially first got here, when I first sat here, I asked about that area, and still it's
yeah, we wanted
still
to
the way it
foreclose
is
on
in
him.
disrepair.
Yeah, and city council told us no.
Uh-huh.
They didn't want it. So now they've all been sold by different, now it's all owned by different people. So we'll get with all the different people, because there's I think there's 4 lots there. So we'll get with the different owners and make sure that they clean it up for you.
Okay.
Has somebody dumped stuff on it too? Or is it just overgrowth?
I don't know. I haven't been up in there.
Okay. A lot of times people dump stuff on it too. That's easy to clean up, yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell.
I mean, easier to get them to clean up, put it that way.
Right. Oh, also, did you, Ms. Laura, Ms. Jones, put in my box or was able to get me a copy of that grant for Cornelius William Park?
Yes, ma'am, I sent you all the information.
I
In your
didn't
email.
receive it. Did anybody else receive it?
Uh-uh.
Oh, I sent it to Latricia because that's how I'm supposed to do it. I'm supposed to send it to you and then you send it out. That's what Terry told me.
Yeah, I have not received it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I sent you the grant paperwork and the agreement.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make sure you all receive it tonight.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I have a correction or information. The name that the mayor was talking about that was misspelled for the student of the month, that's how it came to me from the school.
From the teacher.
Yes.
Just for clarity, I was not blaming the clerk. I just wanted the young lady to have the recognition she deserved.
All right. Okay, 7A, discussion with possible action, lien reduction for property owned by Avis in Monty Seabrook, located at 1016 Northeast 2nd Avenue, Williston. Mr. Monty Seabrook.
Yes, how you doing? How's everyone doing? My name is Monty Seabrook. I'm here on behalf of my mom, and I think that was the property right there. That's how I looked at it. I took it upon myself to knock it down with a tractor, figuring I can take my time to clean it up, burn the wood, but that didn't happen. It kind of like, the project kind of like got bigger than I thought it was going to be. And
the next picture looks great.
There you go. That's what it looks like now. So I came and talked to Miss BJ, and she was explaining to me, well, Monte, go out and get a permit. So I got a permit for 60 days. 6 months. Okay, so when I got the permit, in between the permit time expiration, I guess someone else came to a meeting and complained about it. So when they complained about it 2 months ago, that's when the councilman said, I tell you what, we'll just start doing it 25, whatever it was, a day or whatever, was fine on it. Which at the time, I didn't know till I got a letter. My mom got the letter. She was like, Monty, the city's finna take the land. I don't know. I said, no, Mom, that's not the case. I said, let me go up and talk to everyone up there. And I came with her. Miss BJ was so nice. Mr. Allen was explaining to me. And everyone was really nice. And but like I said, the project just was too big. And I get what you guys were saying, even about cleaning up. And my mom's been on all the boards. And I'm born and raised in Wilson. I would never have no disrespect towards the city. I just not doing what you asked of me, I would say. And that's not was my point. Like I said, it was just a project that was too big. And even the young lady up here at the city was like, well, Monte, I can get some quotes for you to help you out. Everyone was so wonderful, but when she gave me the quotes, it was like 11,000, 14. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, wow. So once I got into it and went and got a dumpsters, I wound up using 10 dumpsters at $300. I found a guy who gave them to me for $300 a dumpster. Then I got a guy who wanted to load them for $200. So I was just looking for a guy with a little tractor, man. Just come help me out. So that didn't work out. So I got my friend BJ Carson. I appreciate him. He came out, and in the end, he charged me like $1,000 to have it looking like that. And I just want to come here tonight and ask, could possibly waive my fines. It was, like I said, I don't like to come up with excuses because I tell my kids I don't want to hear no excuses. So it's no excuse. It's just that between my permit not ending and someone coming and saying, hey, we got to complain about this property, and the city council not even knowing that, hey, he is cleaning up the property. Well, I tell you what, Ms. Seaver's not here to me. We're going to just hit him with a $25 fine. In between that, that's how things happen. But when I came and talked to Ms. BJ, she's like, well, Monty, right now, we'll probably have to have you go back and sit in front of the Senate councilman to figure out where that. But she said, in the meantime, just go ahead, clean up, and then we'll stop the fines. And that's what happened when I got to that point. And that's where I'm here now.
Mr. Seabrook.
Yes, sir.
I think I heard that you got a permit to clean it up?
Yes.
And that permit is good for 6 months.
Yes, sir.
And that 6 months had not passed.
Yes, sir.
I don't understand why we levied anything on you at all with the permit in place.
Well, like I said, that's why I came up here, and I was talking to Miss B, and she was like, well, Monty, I don't understand. I don't know why neither, but that's what happened. She said, only thing I think one of the young ladies told me, like I said, when y'all had a meeting like this here, someone was here also and say, I guess you guys was talking about somebody else's property and said, well, hey, what about that property over there? And then I think you guys looked at them like, and I think when you guys looked at it, it looked like the first picture. Mm-hmm. And you guys was like, well, I tell you what, let's put $25 a day on them, fine them for that.
No one bothered to look and ask if you had a permit to clean it?
No. And like I said, that's when Mr. Don came in place and told me, like, that's when Mr. Don came in. He said, Monty, I'll figure this out and help you out as much as I could. But his hands were tied because he can't overrun whatever you guys say. So, like I said, that's why I'm here.
Ms. Jones.
Mr. President, I just want to clarify a little bit. It wasn't I know that you weren't able to come, but it wasn't city council. It was obviously the code enforcement board that they levied the fines. Mr. Seabrook did make an effort to try and clean it up, and then it just kind of got delayed, so the fines kept going. We did stop them in September to last year when we saw that it was cleaned up, but it wasn't you guys. It was code enforcement board. So we went through all the normal processes that we usually go through. The fine of $11,000. The property is kind of strange. In fact, it's really not buildable. It's not
No,
even.
it wasn't a fine of 11,000. You told me it was that's when I was told that to clean it up, it would be roughly around 11,000.
No, your fine right now is 11,000.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. And the permit did come after the fact. We asked him to do the permit. He took the building down, and we're like, oh, let's get a demo permit so that we have all our ducks in a row.
A demolition permit, right?
Yes.
Okay.
A demo permit. And the property's kind of weird. It's non-buildable. It's not an old plat. It was a piece that was broken off from another property that the Seabrooks don't own, right? So you don't own the neighbors, right? So were you planning on putting a house back up on it, or?
I don't know. I just wanted to get it down. Like Ms. Hines say, in our neighborhood, it was already abandoned. I had the boards on like you supposed to with the stay out or whatever, and I really just wanted it down, clean it up, have it nice grass, and be, just trying to go with the vision that Wilson has.
Yeah, so if because of the size of the property and the way that it's shaped, it can't be worth anywhere near $11,000.
So the $11,350 were the fines that accumulated before September 12th.
Yes.
And September 12th is when you stopped them.
Yes.
Okay. Was it clean before that and we just didn't know it?
No. We stayed up on.
So the fine stopped after it was clean.
Yes, I stopped the fines.
Okay, so, and that's the normal process. If he got the permit to remove everything, it doesn't stop until it's actually clean.
Yeah, until it's actually clean, that's when the fines will stop. And this was recorded because it had been a while that we were working with Mr. Seabrook to get it cleaned up. So it was recorded. So we can't go back and ask for a reduction from base because this is actually up to you guys now. Because if it wasn't recorded and it was just some fines, base could have handled this for you. But because it was recorded, it had gone
Recorded
wrong.
at Levy County at
Yes,
clerk of
ma'am.
the court. Okay, gotcha.
So that you mean by base?
Board of
the
Adjustments.
Board
and
of
Code
Adjustments
Enforcement.
and Code Enforcement.
Okay.
Had you already started to clean the lot up before the fines started?
Yes, sir. As far as I knew, I was.
Okay.
That's what, some of this what I'm hearing tonight is new to me, to be honest with you, because, like I said, as far as I was concerned, as far as I knew, the fine stopped in maybe like February or March. Maybe not March, but maybe January.
So it actually stopped before
the fines.
you thought it stopped?
Yeah, because like I said, I had my permit, and and then that amount, I never heard that amount. Lord, my God. I'm thinking I probably had fines from maybe 4 or 5 months at most, fines. And like I say, all I was told the fines was $25 a day. 11,000. How many years that is?
It melts up really quick, believe me. So how much have we expended?
Not much, just the
clerk's fees.
Yeah, the recording fees, I think they're $30-something, and
so
the
administrative
lawyers
fee.
didn't have anything to do with this one. This one was pretty cut and dry. Letters, but $10 a piece. So we just really wanted to help him get it cleaned up, and we did get complaints. We worked with him for a while, but then when we got the complaints, it was kind of the point where we had to bring it to code enforcement.
Yeah, it looks great. Looks great now. Beautiful piece of land.
Give me just a timeline, a ballpark timeline.
It was almost 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a while. Before, when it started and then when it was finally cleaned up.
So our administrative costs at our clerk of the court, maybe $500.
454 days, yeah. Ma'am?
I don't think you heard that.
No, ma'am.
I said our administrative costs that of staff and the clerk of the court's costs maybe $500.
Yeah, our lawyers didn't have anything to do with this one, so.
Right. So we don't have attorney's fees.
Mm-mm. 15 months.
So the property didn't start getting cleaned up until you got involved.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then, Ms. Jones, did
Yes, sir.
the fine start prior to him getting involved with getting this lot cleaned up?
So this was just the very normal code enforcement process. We were, we saw the property, we talked to him. He said he was going to clean it up. We tried to try to help him get it cleaned up. Time went by. We got some complaints. I had to bring it in front of code enforcement. So he got his letters, went to code enforcement. They told him to clean it up. Probably gave him 30 days. And we brought it back, and it wasn't cleaned up yet. He did come in and finally get the demo permit. So it was just a normal, 4 or 5 month code enforcement process.
Okay. Thank you.
That's more than 4 or 5 months worth
I'm
of
trying
fine.
to say
That's after it was filed.
That didn't work for me.
That's
So-
more, that's more than
That's why I'm saying this was like a 2-year process for Laura Jones. Because when I worked with them to get it cleaned up, then we finally took it to code enforcement. And now it's been sitting for 15 months. This has been 2 years.
What's been sitting for 15 months?
The lien.
So even after it's cleaned up, he still got charged $25 a day.
No, it was 15 months ago that the lien was filed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then in September was when I said, Don said it looks clean. Let's stop the daily fine.
I guess I just can't figure out the math. 'Cause
Me either. I'm trying to.
15, like 1 year is 7,000 and change. So 15 months minus however many months it's been since September, I can't quite figure out how we got to 11,000. That's why I'm asking for a timeline.
Yeah, that's 454
454 days. And then you have to add the
divided
$250.
by 4.
15 months. Approximately 15 months.
It's right. Okay. 450 days times 25 is 11,250 plus the filing costs.
Well, I'll just jump right in here. I've got a few more thoughts later on tonight, so buckle up. But 2 weeks ago, we reduced the liens by 90%, and the people had not even made an effort to clean it up yet. So I think at a minimum, we need to reduce, in order to be fair and across the board, we need to reduce these by a minimum of 90%.
I'm saying $500.
90% is $1,135. I think we can, we have to at least reduce it to that.
Right.
amount.
I agree.
So there's really nothing you can do with the property.
I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, like I said, it was a house there.
Could sell it to
Okay.
somebody
Yeah.
contingent to the property.
Okay.
I make a motion that we reduce the liens to $500.
Second the motion.
All right, we have a first and a second. Do we have any other discussion? Nope, seeing none, we'll move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, 5-0.
Thank you.
Who
Thank you.
seconded that? Was that you?
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for getting it
Thank
cleaned
looks
up
beautiful.
and everything.
Thank
Thank you
Looks
for
really
cleaning
good.
it up.
Thank you very much.
All right. B, Resolution 2025-39, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, establishing an authorization for the City of Williston to move forward with the low bid repair for the digester aeration mixer through Coastal Pump and Equipment, Inc., and providing an effective date. Public Works Director Donald Barber.
I believe most of the council is familiar with American Pipe and Tank. American Pipe and Tank on average costs us about $900 a load. When you can't process waste through aeration, which creates these anaerobic bugs, and they don't eat it down in the digester, what happens is that collects, and over time, it makes it to where we have to have load after load after load hauled out. We have a deal with American Pipe and Tank to do that like once a week as a trade-off, but they're doing it a lot more than that. The reason why is because the aerator machine that throws dissolved oxygen all up through the aerator to create those bugs is broken, has been for a little while. Finally got in 3 quotes. As you can see, the other quotes are quite higher than the one that we're asking for. The one we are asking for is below the threshold of $25,000, so we did not RFP. We are asking you to move forward with this one here from Coastal Pump and Equipment. It's as simple as that. In order to save a lot of money over the long run, we're asking for the part to fix the digester.
All right,
And the
council.
bids were apples to apples, right?
Yes, ma'am.
They were so far off. It was so-
There's one slight change in it. The other companies do not offer the horsepower, which was lower. And we asked Bart from Wright Pierce if there was an issue with the lower horsepower. He said absolutely not. He verified it. He did the calculations. It is exactly what's in it now. The other 2 companies said they didn't offer that low of horsepower, so it was about 2 horsepower more. So that is the difference between the quotes. But other than that, everything behind it is the same.
Okay. I would move approval of Resolution 2025-39.
I'll second.
We have a first, we have a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's 5-0. Alrighty, item C, Resolution 2025-40, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, establishing authorization for the City of Williston to move forward with an agreement with FGU to participate in the Block 4 prepay and providing an effective date. Public Works Supervisor Donald Barber.
As many of you in the past have seen, we have 5 compartments of prepay in gas that we're allowed to pursue. These prepay programs are not hedging like we've talked about previously. They are not anything other than a type of locking in a price, a deal with some of the natural gas suppliers up in Alabama where the hub is. Katie came to us, said there was a rare opportunity. We have 3 blocks currently. We have 2 still available, and she's asking if we would like to move forward with this 4th block. This 4th block is considerable savings. We're looking at anywhere between 25 and 33 cents per decatherm. Really good. If the gas ever is inverted, there's a complete no obligation clause. So if gas goes higher than what the savings are, we're not in any way penalized. We only get to experience the savings. So we're asking council if they would like to move forward with that 4th block. We would have 1 left. That directive confirmation and addendum is in your packet. It lays it out really clearly. You look at the 2nd paragraph and go down, you'll see it says 30-year commitment to purchase firm gas of quantities. Again, that is a variable discount, meaning it's of our choice. And that is repricing period is below 23 cents a decatherm. That's the minimum discount. So that's actually a very strong discount, especially with gas right now below $3 a decatherm. So if you have any questions, I'll attempt to answer them, but we're asking if we can move forward here in the 4th pay.
Okay. Council?
To me, it's a no-brainer.
I make a motion, we approve resolution.
May I ask a question before you make that motion?
Absolutely.
Thank you. What happens to the gas if we don't use it all?
So we prepay certain quantities, just like we do with electric. We have to pay for what we purchase, but we reanalyze that with FGU's help every single quarter, and we make those purchases based on the quarter, and we're usually fairly close. There's always going to be some where you have to buy a little extra, and some where you have to actually lose a little extra, but that's just how the market works, both in electric and gas.
So it is your opinion that we will use the extra gas we're about to buy?
We're not buying extra gas. We're signing up for a variable discount for gas that we're already purchasing, and we're asking them if we lock into a certain agreement for a certain period of time that they're agreeing to discount it. So whatever the market price goes up, they have a minimum of 23 cents they will take off that. So including our other discounts, I think we're up to over 50 cents per decatherm.
Thank you very much.
I make a motion we approve resolution 2025-40.
Second.
We have, first, we got a second. Any other discussion? No? All right. Seeing none, we'll all move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 5-0. All right. D, Resolution 2025-42, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, establishing authorization for the City of Williston to move forward with the purchasing of materials for the gas line extension into the Williston Airport and contract for the labor and installation for the new gate station and providing an effective date. Public Works Supervisor Donald Barber.
All right, this will be a gas line extension built out at the airport property to add 3 new regulator stations. 2 are what we consider farm taps, and 1 is a regulator station very similar to the ones that we have at Northwest 7th Street and also the Monterey out there past the cemetery. This is to provide services to new customers that have been long promised access to natural gas. And then also we have Monterey out there, which has for the last 2 years been unable to get as much gas as they actually want to purchase. So they have a few buildings that they want to put heaters in, but they're maxed out. Right now, currently, there's a 2-inch line extension that goes to the airport down the airport main road. I believe that's 18th. And so what we'll do is we'll go over to where B&G is. We'll continue down that back way, and then we'll come up through the airport where Benton and the gas department have spoken about coming in with an easement and not interfering with any leases or anything, and then building that main gate station and then 2 branch offs to reduce pressure. One will be a new feed to Monterey. They'll all go up to a 100-pound line. They're all at 25 now. We'll give them all the gas they need, put more buildings on. The other one is a 25-pound line. We'll go to places like the crematorium and other industrial and manufacturers that would like to tap in. So we know that we're going to get more sales. I know that when you look at the price tag, if you look at your rate sheet here, you're going to see the quotes from DevTech. This is sole source because we're purchasing all of this through FGU, who we have a contract with. We're not actually hiring DevTech. We're not actually hiring eQuix. This is through FGU, who we have a contract with. That's who the payments will be made through. They have negotiated for the city staff, the gas department, which you just saw some of tonight. We will be doing all the labor for the extension of the line and all the building of it and all the clearing of the property and all the digging. Where we're going to hire someone is to put in the actual gate stations because we'll be responsible for compliance in the gate stations. You don't want to be both the installer and the operator. You want somebody to install it to have some compliance, some verifications, checks, whatnot. Everything's listed there on the airport project sheet. It will come to $221,916. Again, this will increase revenue significantly. Many of you I already know are going to ask the question, where are we getting this money?
Good one.
The answer to that question is, first of all, we in the budget knew this was happening this year. And so if you look at your budget, under line item 405-532-060-064, it is labeled gas line extension. There is $50,000 that was specifically budgeted for that. The remainder, if you remember, we've used part of the $179,600 from the gas buyout from Lennar's Townhomes on fixing one of our gate stations. The balance of that, which will complete the amount that we need, will be utilized for the extension as well. So between those two things, one budgeted, one is a prepayment for expansion. That's how we're going to cover the expense.
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Man is on top of it.
All right, council. What you think?
On a motion. I move we approve Resolution 2025-42 and move forward.
A second.
We have a first, we got a second, we got any other discussion? All right, seeing none, we're going to move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, it's 5-0. All right. E, Resolution 2025-43, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, establishing authorization for the City of Williston to enter into a contract between Dark Trace Holding Limited, parentheses Dark Trace, and the City of Williston in providing an effective date. Public Works Supervisor, Donald Barber.
This is a sole source AI-based provider for cybersecurity. Darktrace protects and defends some of the most sensitive IP digital data and mission-critical infrastructure in the world. They're part of the McLaren Group, Steve Madden, Domino's, the NHS Foundation Trust, and the City of Las Vegas. We recommend approval. We've already actually worked with this company. We've gone as far as we can on some of the demos, and now it is time to decide if we're going to do this. This is going to be critical. Aaron can speak to this contract, and making sure that we're not phished, that we're not scammed, that we're not penetrated as far as cybersecurity. And then with Williston Fiber coming as well, another critical step to protect our customers and not put them at risk. So I'll let Aaron answer any questions that you have technically, because this stuff I absolutely hate.
As well as most of the council hate technology. As most of you know, the uptick we're seeing in email scams and phishing scams, and they're getting more and more and more every day. And we get alerts from the state and the feds about it, and these different things that law enforcement get alerts on. I get the same things. It's just something we need to do because our current solution is Microsoft only, and they do a very poor job at filtering out these emails. It's just this company's they sent me a demo going on probably about 2 months ago. We've had the device here on the network, and it's done a really good job. Some of the stuff we included, I don't want to bore you with all the numbers and things, but it didn't actually do any of the things it said it could have done as far as blocking what it found and the types of emails it found. And it uses a lot of AI analogies to discover these things, like Councilman Jones has never received an email from this person before, and this looks a little weird, and then it could flag it and ask, what do you want to do with it before you ever get it? So that's kind of where we're at, and we've got them really, really reduced rate on this. We started out in the neighborhood of about $40,000, and we determined with the demo that our network was, for the most part, pretty clean and not having a lot of issues. Our main focus here is email, because that is our largest threat coming into the city.
Aaron negotiated $14,000 a year for a minimum of a 2-year contract required. We are asking not to exceed $18,000 just in case there is an added benefit or something that he sees as a module that we need to adopt. And then we're asking in the resolution, so that we have to do this every 2 years, as long as the program goes to specs and everything works out, with an option to renew 2 more times on that 2-year contract.
So, first question. The money. Where are we going to get it?
The funds that we can pay this out of this year are readily available in both CalLink and IT for Ed's salary that we haven't spent because we haven't had the technicians on board. This, to be a cravat here, this only protects the WillistonFL.org email for the city. We're going to plan on including in our next year budget to add another device for the police and fire to protect their emails equally. And it would be another device, hence it would probably double this contract. But that's something we can negotiate later.
Unless you want to change to our WillistonFL.org.
I would probably say no. Because
I don't know why not.
Because the licensing fees we'd have to pay on top of Microsoft Office and everything
Because
to
of the
add
number
more
of
users,
people.
because we pay per every user.
Got it.
It's probably not worth it to change.
So it'll help block the chance of us, somebody...
Well, it works both ways, too. It also works both ways, too. Well, they use Google, they use Gmail, and Gmail has a little bit better protections than Microsoft has. So their email usually doesn't see a lot of the scam emails and phishing scams. it also works both ways. So if we have an end user in here who gets one through or something happens and they click a link, not going to point any fingers at someone who might, but it also
I saw a
can.
finger.
It also can. I was pointing to Donald, sir.
Yeah, right.
It also can protect and block that on the outgoing side as well, where if someone accidentally does click on a site that may redirect them somewhere, it can say, hey, wait a minute, this is not normal. This doesn't look normal. And there is a learning curve as far as the AI goes where it actually learns our users' habits and things that they do often. So it'll self-adjust when it sees routine activities that we normally do, and it doesn't require intervention from myself or someone. It'll actually just, once it learns the routines, it'll do it for you.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to say I would like to see us, if we're going to do this, do the contract for 2 years without the option, and you come back and give us a report after those 2 years, and if things are going well, then we give you that option to renew for 2 years.
Okay, I'm good with that. Yeah, I agree. If it doesn't perform like we want to, I obviously wouldn't renew it. That would be an option, but we would be obligated for the 2 year period.
I would just like to hear a report after those 2 years instead of us just going and automatically.
That's not a problem.
Please, Chief Rose.
I just have a question as to what is the cost to add the police department to it? Have we checked into that or not?
Well,
I mean, we have important.
I don't know what the
emails,
exact cost would be. I would assume it would be basically this contract doubled for the hardware and the service, because we might be a little less, a little more members, because it's also going to include fire department emails as well as police department. But we would also have to upgrade your Gmail service to a higher level tier to be able to have that interaction. So that would cost us something per user. I'm just not sure what that amount would be.
Yeah, I'm just curious because, I mean, when we do things to, in my opinion, when we do things to protect the city, we should be doing things to protect the entire city.
Yeah, and I agree.
Not just one part.
Yeah.
So we should be looking at.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needs to
everything.
come as well. But like I said, your current protections with Gmail are a lot better than ours are with Microsoft. They do a very poor job at their security. And that's something we can get the numbers together and come back with it and see what it would cost us to actually upgrade it. The only difference I see would just be the cost of upgrading your Google accounts to the enterprise level instead of the pro level or whatever you're at now. So instead of, and I don't know the exact numbers, let's say if it's costing you $5 per email, it may cost you 10, or it may cost you 7. Per user. I don't know what that would be for sure.
I'd like to see a comparison as if they moved to the WilsonFL.org and added to that user amount to this same contract.
Well, if we add more users to this contract, it will increase the price.
I know it will.
This is based on
I would like a comparison between the two.
Okay.
The Gmail and the WilsonFL.org.
That won't be a problem to produce.
Because one may be cheaper than the other, but if we not realize it. I mean, if it's cheaper to stick with Gmail, we want to hear that.
More than likely, it would be cheaper, but I'll get the numbers for you.
Let us know.
Ms. Meredith, do you have something?
I just had a question. Is this comparable? Like if you've compared other programs and this particular company is in the middle, high end, low end?
This is one of the higher ends that's used pretty much across the board by hundreds of companies is what they do, and they are sole source providing this particular technology.
My other question is when we were at the Swan River League of Cities and they talked to us about cybersecurity and they talked to us about the state statute that we have to meet the mandatory requirements for. Does this help at all?
I think we're already meeting the mandatory requirements just by having what we have, but this would exceed any standards that the state has at this point.
I'd like to see you look at that and let us report back to us whether we're meeting the state statute. Because if not, we need to do something about it.
Aaron, the statute is actually regarding training of personnel, of staff.
Right.
Yes, that's what
and
I'm saying.
I don't know that this has a training module with it. If it does, that's great, but...
Well, the training of staff would probably come from myself.
Directly from you. I know there are training modules because I used to use them where I worked previously. We had to do it like every 6 months. We had to do a internet security training module, and they were all different. just to keep us up.
This is kind of like she said, Sue said, this is separate from what the state's requiring in their guidelines.
We'll put that on your list and let us know whether we're meeting the mandate. I'd appreciate it. I know, in your spare time.
Yep. So do we want to table this until we get that information?
I need to point out that this contract is based on being signed by tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't mean to ask that question to delay it. I just want to know if we're meeting state requirements.
Okay, so council?
Okay, but if we're not meeting the state requirements and this does not help us meet that state requirement, now we've already signed a contract.
This has nothing to do with the state requirements. It's separate.
Sue said
Two
it's
separate
training,
things.
so
Okay.
That'll be a different module of some kind.
All right, council? Can I get a motion?
I move approval of resolution 2025-44.
Ma'am,
43, excuse me.
Councilmember Jones, are you making that with Section 2 revised to remove the period of 2 years option to renew?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure you knew that, put that in
As
the motion.
amended at the request of Ms. Hines. Thank you.
I second.
All right, we have a first, we have a second. Any other discussion? All right, nope. Then we'll move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 5-0. All right. F, Resolution 2025-44, Resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, establishing authorization for the City of Williston to create 2 telecom network specialist positions and provide an effective date. Public Works Supervisor, Donald Barber.
So before I get in specifically to the resolution 2025-44, you were expecting to see 3 things on your agenda tonight. One was a contract with the Williston Crossings, one was loan documents from Seacoast, and the other was this. I'll let Kirsten answer why you're not seeing Seacoast. It's nothing to do with the staff. It's totally a bank issue. It's not going to be an issue, but it's something that we had to extend time on. Before Kirsten gets into that, I wanted to introduce Teresa. Teresa, if you want to come forward. To address the council. She is the manager and on all the documentation for the corporation there at the Williston Crossings. Teresa's wonderful to work with. City's been able to do a lot over there with their cooperation, even hosting our functions, which we're very appreciative of. But I wanted to have someone here that the council could hear, so it wasn't just staff standing up and saying that, hey, we think Williston Crossings is excited about coming on with us on this project. I wanted to give her an opportunity to state what her perspective and their perspective and maybe the reasons behind why they are so excited about it as well.
So Donald never told me I had to speak. Thank you, Donald.
He's good at that.
He is right. I've been at Williston Crossing now for 8 years. The property has undergone a lot of changes with the Wi-Fi system. I think right now, and this is going to shock a lot of you, doesn't me because I look at the bills every day, we have close to $1 million in cost for Wi-Fi. That has failed over and over and over again.
Oh my.
Now, we basically just try to run a little city over there and handle all of our issues in-house. Donald and Erin came to me, I think it was last August, wasn't it, Donald? Yeah. So, and said that this was a possibility. And literally, if I could have danced like Elaine on, what is it? What is that? Yeah, Seinfeld, I would have been in the streets. I'm so excited about this. We are ready to move forward. I'm really hoping this passes and, you know, we're going to move forward. Donald told me I get to be first, so I'm trusting that that's the truth. And if you have any questions for me, that's fine. I know that the ownership and myself met with Donald and Erin about a month ago, and he's as excited as I am because he's quite frankly tired of me being in his back pocket. So this will be a good thing. Right now we do charge for internet service, but it's not even, it's probably not even a tenth of what I spend.
Wow.
What we get back in return. So this is a huge boost for us. And just so you all know, we're on board.
Perfect.
Good.
Any questions at all for me? No? Thanks for putting me on the spot, Noah. Appreciate it.
We're thrilled to have you.
So I just thought, it'd be good. She was planning on coming here and hearing you guys vote on it, but as I said, Kirsten's finalizing some things on the agreement with the crossings. You'll be seeing that either at a special meeting, we hope, or the next meeting, and then again, the Seacoast Bank information. But what Resolution 2025-45 is the two positions we talked about. Want to make sure that service is paramount to the Williston Fiber. The City of Ocala, we've discussed this before, has talked, 44, I apologize, has talked about, they have approximately 40,000 customers and quite a large, extensive city limits. They have about 8 field techs. I know that when you hear 2 technicians for the city, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is because that's what they're going to be focused on. We're not talking about utilizing them for gas or water or sewer or parks or anything of that nature. This is what they're going to be doing full-time, either hooking up new customers or they're going to be servicing, making repairs. These are going to be highly qualified folks. We put in a job description so that you could get a chance to look that over, see that those duties were elevated, that they were comparable. We took most of this job description off of the telecommunications positions in the City of Ocala for their fiber department, tweaked it, and made it a little bit better for us. So if you have any questions at this time, we are asking for these 2 positions. For the current budget year, this would be handled through the loan from Seacoast when it's approved. We have to internally advertise, and we have to externally advertise, and we have to do interviews. So the loan documents will be there, I'm sure, before anything that as far as a hiring. In that case as well, we do have a position in CalLink that's never been filled for the entirety of this year's budget. So if we needed to use a month or 2, we have it there. And then finally, after the first year of the loan covering it, then we will kick in, and that will be part of the Williston Fiber budget and its operating expenses. So at this time, again, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have a question. Do
Yes,
we
ma'am.
currently have staff who meet this job description?
No, ma'am.
Okay. But we're going to look internally first?
We have to by our CBA. We have to advertise 5 days internally. They have the opportunity to apply. At the very least, the policy is that they're afforded an interview. But if they're not qualified, they wouldn't be acceptable candidates.
Did a couple of them go to a class for fixing the fiber lines?
Yes, there is a cert, but that's one of 3 parts. We're looking for all of those parts. We're also looking for specific period of years. I think we listed 2 years minimum where they've actually full-time worked in this space. Okay. We've come across other technicians for other providers. We've asked about where the pay is, and where we're asking for the pay, it's about $1.50 to $2 an hour higher than the mid-range. So we think we can attract some talent because they would come here with experience and actually make a little bit more, like $1 or so more. So we're trying to get the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme, as they say.
So what is that pay range?
It starts out at around $20 an hour. I believe it's $19.91, and it will top out around $27. But that will come with documented coursework and evaluations.
So when you say top out, that's the highest that they can make, or that's the range they can come in as?
So we would start at base, and then experience can give you up to 15% more on the base. Certs, documented certs, at $1 per cert according to the CBA and the rules the city have. So let's say they had all 3 certs and they had 2 years of experience. Then they would come in at, instead of the $19.91, they'd come in at $22.91 if they had all 3 certs, and then up to 15% on that $22 based on experience. That could be the top that anybody could do without coming to council and having that job.
$26.61?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now, once they get to $26.61, I believe how the policy works on that is they couldn't get raises for anything other than COLAs or what the council decided to do as cost of living or just general yearly raises. So once you top out, you can't go above that once you have hit that peak unless it's for something that you all have decided to do.
Okay.
Is this the only job that has that cap?
No, all the jobs have ranges.
Okay.
Yeah, we have pay grades. We have pay grades, and all of those pay grades have minimum and maximums. When you hit your maximum, the only time you can get a raise over that. The maximums consider all the licensing you could get and all the qualifications you get, all the education, and then of course above that would be what you guys could vote on for increases.
Okay, just making sure it's the same.
Okay.
Curious.
Anybody else?
motion.
Ms. Meredith?
I make a motion, we approve resolution 2025-44.
And I'll second.
And you just want it ASAP is what you want. You said effective date. You want that to be,
Yes, I mean, if we could do the internal, then we could put out. Hopefully, by the time the loan is processed, then we hopefully have some candidates that have been interviewed. We could make selections. As soon as the build out goes, we plan on actually having these individuals work alongside the build out. They're going to learn the system from the ground up. That way, when the installers leave, we're not wondering what things are and how they win and all that good stuff.
So let me ask you this question. So with that being said, are we putting anything in place in the event that somebody that's already here would like to cross-train over into that space as like maybe a, I don't know if it'll be a promotion, but just switch jobs.
So we'd start with the 2 technicians. We would evaluate after the build out where we were. We'd report back to council in the new budget. If we thought that it needed another position, we would open one within this department as an apprentice or as a training position, just like we have in others. You always want a succession plan. But for now, we're trying to be budget conscious and getting this very expensive project off the ground, and we don't want to be top heavy right from the beginning.
Correct.
So that's the main reason why we haven't started that succession planning. It's like, let's get a department built before we start doing HR things in relation to that. As far as other departments, no. We plan on having a very healthy separation between power and fiber. And the reason for this is because power needs to be restored first. It's the priority. But if you have them cross-trained, instead of moving on to the next power outage, what you're going to say is you're going to see them starting to work on the fiber there. We don't want that. Let's say there's 3 outages in town. They're going to go to each one, work on them. Right behind them will come a separate crew and restore the fiber. So you don't want that as one crew because it'll slow actually down both processes.
Right, I get it. My concern would be is if one of the 2 people that we have decides to leave, now we're down to 1 with nobody knowing anything to assist that person until we hire somebody else on, and it may take a while to get somebody else on. So now we're down a person, and then we're kind of struggling.
And we've
So I
talked
just want to
about
make sure we have a plan.
We do have a plan. We've talked about that, and that's where our relationships through mutual aid, through Central Florida, through City of Ocala, we have good relationships with them. And what we would do is, in the meantime, we'd have mutual aid agreements set up with them. We would call in them, and we would pay just fees based on what services we used from them. But instead of trying to scramble and have an unqualified person, we just call in someone. And those mutual aid agreements that we have are at a discounted rate. They're very inexpensive. It's not like you're going out and paying Pike or paying some contractor to come in and do that. So that is something that we already have in place, is mutual aid agreements. When Terry was here previously, we did a lot of filing of mutual aid agreements through Florida Rural Water, through FGU, through FMPA. We've actually had mutual aid from FMPA, we've had mutual aid from FGU, and we've had mutual aid from Florida Rural Water. So we're going to be leaning on those relationships to have that in place as well.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I already made a
I
motion.
have a
and
motion.
Ken
That's
seconded
right. We
it.
got the first, second, and then we had to go. All right. Move to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? 5-0.
Thank you, Council.
Miss Teresa, you said Donald said you would get first. Did he qualify you'd get first of what? Did he actually say what he was going to give you first of? No, you're not.
No, he's
I just wanted to warn you that you could be getting the first of the last. You're going to be first.
He definitely told us Northeast was first. At our last meeting.
All right. G.
Great job, Donald.
All right. Section G. Item G. Resolution 2025-45. A resolution of the City of Williston, Florida, approving that certain agreements between the city and Central Auction House for electronic bidding, making certain findings of facts in support of the city approving said agreement, with the Central Auction House authorizing appropriate parties to sign And the documents required, execute such agreements, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict, and provide an effective date. City Manager Sue Badette.
Thank you very much. All right, so this, we actually started this a few weeks ago when Terry was still here. And what's great about this electronic bidding is that when you have an RFP, an RFQ, something that you need to put out to the masses, you put it out there and, you know, everything comes in the same manner. Everything's coming in electronically. The other nice thing is that if there's any amendments or addendums or anything, everybody gets notified in the same way. It just makes it so that there's just everything's kind of on a level, you know, playing field. What also is great, I used this in my previous position when I didn't have a lot of experience. I wasn't Donald. I didn't know how to write a lot of RFPs and RFQs. So I could actually go on and look at, you know, if I was looking for, you know, somebody to replace a roof, you could type in roof replacement and get somebody else's from a different municipality or different county, and you could basically piggyback off of what they've already done. It was also really helpful for, you know, if you just couldn't find vendors. Again, we're in a small area. You know, we couldn't find enough vendors to give us quotes. So you could use this to get more, you know, quotes. We have Mr. Ted Fleming. He's actually our representative with Central Bidding. If you want him to come up and kind of give a little more, you know, nuts and bolts of the process. And Attorney Ballou also has some experience with other municipalities that use this this electronic bidding as well. But it's definitely something that the city can use, and most importantly, it's free. So that's the most important part. It's free. So, you want to come on up, Ted?
So I am Ted Fleming. I am the co-founder and chief operating officer of Central Bidding. We've been doing this for about 17 years. We work with about 800 agencies across 5 different states. I've been spending a lot of time here in Florida rolling it out. Matter of fact, I just came from Horseshoe Beach. So what it does, as Sue was saying, is it allows you from the front end to be able to cut a lot of time and effort out of being able to see how other people are writing it. Right now, there's probably a lot of effort to Google and to try to find other people who have done it. Well, there's nobody in the southern United States who has more than 800 agencies like we have. So we have a broad availability of documents that you can be reviewing and seeing how to do things. When we go and we send out commodity code notifications to your vendors, it allows them to be able to see from all the different agencies in Florida who are doing this. So it helps small and disadvantaged businesses grow. It helps the agencies and the vendors to kind of develop relationships together because we do training with both. And it helps you get more qualified bids. So it helps you to understand exactly what you need to write and how to develop that relationship. It's also helping you when it comes to any emergencies, because when FEMA comes in, you have to have notified certain number of vendors of it. You have to get certain people looking at it and all of that. My site does that for you. And we collect all the information and make it available for you. So we're not asking you to change anything you do today. You have your own city council, you have your own lawyers. You're going to basically write exactly what you write today. You're just using my site as another option to reach more people and to get more responses back. And that's the benefit of it. And shortly, that's what we are.
Yeah, that was, I said it on that the other day, and I can see where it would be very helpful to us. So, it's a good thing.
Thank you.
So I have a question, because I don't have a clue what this is. So let's say that we want to write an RFP. You have templates. Is that what I'm sort of hearing?
Similar to that. What we have is across
other people's.
Other agencies. So
okay.
You can say, okay, we want to be able to view, I kind of demoed this earlier today, you want to be able to view any of the services that you're going to be looking for. You can put it in architectural services. Horseshoe Beach is right now interested in that. They want to write an RFP for architectural services for the new city hall. But they don't know how to write them. So they've got to either go out and hire somebody to write those for them and spend money on that, or figure it out for themselves. They don't have a procurement department. So they're very small. So they're using us to be able to go and look at how other people have written those documents, to be able to take from other best users who have done that before and write their documents for themselves.
Okay, so if we've done that, if we've either used one of your documents or we've written our own, can we then use, and I'm just trying to figure out how this works, can we then use your site to put it out there?
Absolutely.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what you do. You then
so then people review it and they can bid on it?
Correct.
Or put in a contract on it?
Yes.
Okay, so it does both, actually.
Yes, ma'am.
Helps you write it and it helps people see it.
and brings in much more qualified and new vendors when you need to do that, because a lot of small entities really struggle with that part of it, where they just don't have enough interest in people just coming in and doing that, and you have to go out to bid multiple times. I mean, there's plenty of examples I can give you, but how many times you have to go out for rebid for things simply because you either don't get people who are compliant, you don't get people under budget, or you just don't get enough bids.
And we've done it ourselves. We've had
We
to
have
do
had it many times.
rebid something 3 times and another thing twice. Yeah, I understand.
A great example, Town of Jay here in Florida. Okay, they had gone out to bid 3 separate times for park. They want to develop a park, and they'd gotten 0 to 1 bid, and the one bid they'd get was 25% over budget. They kept throwing it out, trying to rewrite and do something different. They went to use us once. They had 13 general contractors show up for the pre-bid meeting and 9 bids.
Wow.
2 of those bids were 20% under budget.
Wow.
And it was the first time they used it. And I can't say it's going to happen every time that way, but that's a great example of a small entity that just doesn't have the presence to be able to draw a lot of vendors.
Right.
So, who's going to work to make sure that you have that? That's what we do. It's one
So
of the benefits.
if we have a vendor that we normally use, can we get them enrolled?
Absolutely.
That's what they would have to do, right?
Absolutely.
Is
They
enroll.
can register and registration at no cost to them as well. So they can see all the bids that are going out in this state for that. So how do they grow their business using me? Well, all of a sudden, instead of just looking at what you've put out, they're seeing all the different agencies we have locally. And Kirsten can speak to this. We've got, not just Horseshoe Beach, but Archer, Micanopy, High Springs. I'm meeting with Newberry, GRU. I'm missing a few, but right here locally, we've already got a base of people that we're working with. So that vendor group could be helping every one of these agencies.
Oh, yes. So if it's free to us, is it also free to the vendor?
The vendors can register at no cost. They can see the public advertisements at no cost. They can get notified at no cost, and they can bid electronically at no cost.
Okay.
The only thing they pay us for is if they want to see the bid documents themselves, there is a fee for that. But the fee they pay is covered for all agencies in the state of Florida. So with 60 agencies in Florida, they pay us a service fee. They can get all of those for free.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that.
How do you make your money?
Vendors. What happens is vendors always register for free on my website. It's free. Why would you not? And I suggest that they do that. But if you're a roofing company, I don't know why I always use roofing as an example, but I tend to. But you're a roofing company and you're here in Williston and you're trying to grow your business. Well, how do you do that? One of the ways to do that is to be notified of other entities that are doing the exact same type of work, and you need to know who they are and what they're doing. They do that through my site. Well, now they're starting to get notifications from us. And they're getting 5, 10 notifications from us, and they're saying, well, I can face a choice. Either I can hunt down all those documents from all those different architects, engineers, or all those different agencies, or I can just use central bidding as a one-stop shop. And that's when they start to look at and say, okay, do I want to pay central bidding for that? If they don't want to do that, they use my site for free. If they want to use it for us to give them those documents, that's when they would do it. But again, it's not just for yours. If they've paid for Micanopy, they get yours at the same cost because it's all covered under a service fee for unlimited downloads.
Great, thank you.
And just one more thing that Ted hasn't touched on, but the previous company that I worked with before, the way they got paid was when the bidder actually went to place the bid, whoever won, they would have to pay a certain portion. So if it was a $100,000 job and it was 1%, they'd have to pay that $1,000 to the company. So he's got a different model in that, again, they're only paying if they want to see these bid documents. If they don't want to see them, then they're going to just bid
And
for
that
free.
percentage model is a great model if you want to try to get enriched doing what we do. The problem with that model is this. It costs me no extra money. If you're doing a $100,000 project or a $100 million project, my costs don't change. So why should I get a percentage of what you're spending just so I can get more money for that project? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Plus, I say this, I know it's all recorded, but to me, anytime you have to pay to place a bid, it's a pay-to-play scheme. I don't care if it's $1 or whatever the dollar value is. If you're going to be paid a percentage, you're getting paid based on the fact that you bid that project. And I just don't think that that's appropriate in the process. So we don't do that. We never have.
Ms. Ballou?
The only other benefit that I'd add that we haven't touched on is that I'm sure you're all familiar with piggyback agreements. This gives us access to successful bids, which really helps us to be able to piggyback on agreements instead of having to go through the RFP or RTP process. So a huge benefit to us.
Are you familiar with this company?
Yes, absolutely.
That's a plus.
And something we haven't hit on either is the notifications. There are new requirements or new opportunities for your notifications. So not only can you do this and not have to pay us for this, but you can actually save money on how you go out for notifications, and I'm sure that they'll tie you in on that later.
if we had something we wanted to sell, we would register as a vendor and put it online?
If you wanted to sell it,
Or does it work that way? Let's say we had a piece of property we wanted to sell.
people post that stuff on our website all the time.
Okay.
And no, you would not pay us for that. You would use our site at no cost, period. Okay? But people use us for that all the time. I could show you examples of that on different agencies who use us to just try to put it out there and show people. And what we do in inviting vendors back is real estate finance, all that kind of stuff. So we try to bring those vendors in for you as well.
All right. Okay, council. Any other kind of discussions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion we approve resolution 2025-45.
Second.
We have a first, we have a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none? Hearing none? Move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's 5-0. All right, resolution 2025-46. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the attached lease amendment for the property at the airport known as Hard Stand 5, authorizing the City Council President to execute the lease amendment and provide an effective date. Airport Manager Benton Stiegel.
Yes, sir. So Hard Stand 5 is a lease that we've had for quite a while at the airport. It was owned by Sherry Sumter and was a place where Mr. Dave Fisher did aircraft maintenance for a long time. He retired, and then Miss Sumter sold the hangar to a man named Robert Palmer, who resides in Cedar Key. Mr. Palmer has since then put a pretty significant amount of money into the hangar. There was an office on the backside that had a lot of issues, shall we say. So he, at his own cost, he's put a lot of money into this place, and what he's asking for in this amendment is simply a first right of refusal when the lease term comes to its end, so that he can have the first right of renewing, I guess, with a new lease on this property. So kind of elongate his investment. So, and what that would look like is we would bring a new lease document to you guys when this term ends. We would reach out to him and say, hey, your lease is coming up within so many months. Would you like to, sign a new lease for this property? He agrees to that. We bring it to you guys, and it's a brand new lease. This amendment just gives him the option to say, yes, I would like to, or no, I don't want to.
Okay. Council, you have any questions?
So Mr. Sumter's lease did not have a right of renewal that he assumed?
So,
I mean, usually
the language can get funny.
Usually they do.
I think you're talking about options to extend, right? So he did have options to extend, and I think he's on his last option to extend.
Okay, so he's on his last one.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it.
And what he's asking for is their first right of refusal for renewal when we have a new lease.
Which is a brand new lease, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I understand now. Gotcha. I just wondered why he was having to do that.
Right, because he's
But I know
out of
Mr. Sumter
extensions.
had it for a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, himself.
Okay.
Would we worry that if we did this and there was a tenant that you did not want to renew, that they could request this as well? Like, are we setting precedent here that going forward, that we would have somebody that maybe didn't want to renew the lease, but kind of got grandfathered in as right of first refusal?
This is absolutely discretionary. It's based on the good relationship that we've had with this tenant. It's based on the investment that he's made, and when it's technically not his own property. So this is very case specific and doesn't create a precedent.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other questions?
I move approval of resolution 2025-46.
I'll second.
All right, we have a first, we have a second. Any other discussion? No? All right. Well, a move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's 5-0.
Thank you very much.
All right, next is a open public hearing. Ms. Blue.
Mr. President, this is ordinance number 2025-746, an ordinance of the City of Williston, Florida, amending the City of Williston Code of Ordinances as amended, providing for amending Chapter 38 and creating Article 5 entitled School Speed Zone Infractions, providing for school speed zone enforcement cameras, providing for school speed zone speed enforcement program and use of speed detection systems, providing program implementation requirements, designation of school zones and enforcement, providing legislative findings, providing severability, providing for incorporation in the City Code of Ordinances, and providing an effective date. This is the second reading of this ordinance. This is for your school cameras. We talked a little bit earlier today about how you're going to see the contract for those cameras come through, but this is the ordinance that allows us to put that contract in place.
Okay. And this is the same thing that we talked about at the last meeting. So does anybody have any questions?
I do, sort of. In the time period that we are having the cameras active, it talks about so many hours, and I can't find that, I'll look for it, so many hours before the breakfast is served, or a half hour before the breakfast is served. It's talked about a certain period of time after the school ends. But if I read it correctly, I believe that it also says while school is in class. Page 84. Thank you very much.
It talks about the beacon times.
So it's, well, it does, but then it talks about while they're in the classroom too. So I just wanted to make sure, is it on all day? Is kind of what I want to know.
We can, according to Noble Global, we can adjust the times of when we want the cameras to be active.
Right.
So mostly you set the beacon time, you set the times right before the beacons come on, and then you set the time or what time you want it to go off when the beacons end at the end of the school day. But the times could be adjusted for the cameras to be activated at however we want to set them up.
And I guess that's what I'm asking, because I don't know that it really says. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. And I don't want to delay it. That's not what I'm trying to do.
Right.
I did see on page 84 where, Donald?
And I don't have it in front of me.
Number 3, subsection 1 on page 85 of the section.
Okay, I need to move to the next page is what I need to do. Okay, so 30 minutes before the regular school session, an hour after the regular schools. See, it says a school session. To me, that's
not the school zone. It just says the posted speed limit. So there's a differentiation in what they're ticketing for between.
it still says 11 miles over the speed limit.
That's the law. That's the state law.
So the 11 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Well, right where I'm looking, it says school speed zone.
Right. So what you're looking at is the calculation, how they're calculating what a violation is.
Right.
And so the schools, as we are all aware, during certain hours, the speed limit is different on the stretch of road, depending on if school's in session. So what you're looking at here is a calculation that essentially says if it's over 11 miles an hour, and all of that is 11 miles an hour because that's what the statute says if you're using cameras.
I remember that.
Over the school speed zone, which occurs during X period of time, then that's what this violation is. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I'm still not sure it doesn't say the whole school session.
The cameras are in place on this stretch of road.
Yeah, I realize
24
that.
hours a day, 7 days a week. The cameras will be picking people up all day.
Whether they give a ticket or not.
Right, whether they give a ticket or not, people will be caught on camera throughout the day. The calculation that you're looking at here is if you're caught going 15 miles over the speed limit at noon while school is in session, that's a certain violation. it's a violation whether it's a school zone or not. We have cameras there that say you're going 15 miles over the speed limit.
But are they going to give them a ticket? That's what I'm asking. That's exactly what I'm asking.
All tickets that come through the camera system has to be approved by us.
Yes.
Okay.
Every ticket.
So-
no ticket get issued without us approving it.
And I honestly don't care one way or the other, but if they're doing 15 miles over the speed limit when the beacon is off during the day and the camera catches them, are you going to give them a ticket, a different kind of ticket? Not a run in the school zone ticket, but because it's not
a speeding ticket.
A speeding ticket.
We could, yes, we could. Because if it's still if school is still in session, just because the beacons are not on, doesn't mean that there's not kids out there.
That's exactly the way I read it.
Yeah, doesn't mean that there's not.
I just wanted to make sure
children out
everybody
there.
read it the same
Yeah.
way, or I understood it the same way.
correct.
Yes. Which is what we do every day.
Right. Yeah, if you're sitting there, you do it every day, yes.
I make a motion that we approve second reading 2025-746 as read.
All right, if we have a first, we got a second. Any more discussion? Okay, good. Yes, sir.
Chief. Yeah, I know. Live with it. Are you telling us that you and your organization can adjust the times of the camera at will?
We can adjust the times or when we
You
want the
can
cameras to
adjust
activate.
them, not
Yes, sir.
them. You
Yes,
can.
sir. No, we will have to do it through Noble Global to get them to
Okay.
adjust the time. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What else? All right, get the first, get the second. We got that out of the way. We're going to move to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? 5-0. All right. And we'll close the public hearing. J, discussion with possible action, lien reduction fees. Councilmember Meredith Martin.
Buckle up.
Sorry, I'm getting on my soapbox. I'm concerned about the method or lack thereof by which we forgive liens on properties. I find it incredibly arbitrary, which I think is not fair to the citizens of the city to have such an arbitrary process. I'm not suggesting that we, not forgive for certain reasons, but we have people, two very different cases in the last 2 weeks and last 2 meetings, sorry. And, we had people who came in and it had been abandoned for 10 years and we reduced it by 90%. Oh, sorry, closer. So I feel like that penalizes the people who live next to those abandoned or derelict or not kept to code properties because they don't get any forgiveness when they go to sell their property and the piece of property next to it looks terrible and they take a hit on their property values. Or if you're a business owner and you're trying to get traffic through your business and the business next to you is crumbling and has mattresses in the yard and is overgrown, that's going to affect the number of people that want to stop into your business. There's no way around it. Your neighbors do influence your property value and they do influence your business. And I think when we are as forgiving as we are, we're basically rewarding the people that have not kept their properties up, and we are punishing the people who have kept their properties up. And I don't think that's fair, and I certainly don't think that it's fair to be arbitrary about it and how we feel about the person or whether we feel like they've suffered or whether we feel it should be for each citizen, it should be the same. And when we reduce the fines by 90% or 100%, we undermine all of our codes. And we say to people, it's fine. You just let your property sit for 10 years and look terrible, and then come in here and tell us about, how you want it reduced, and we'll reduce it. So what was the point of the fines then anyway? It sat for 10 years, and they knew they could come in here, and we were going to say, yeah, we'll knock it down 90%. No worries. And I don't think that, again, is fair at all to the citizens who have been putting in the effort, the time, and the money to keep their property up around town. So on that note, I do think that we should have a couple things, one of which is I think that people should be able to apply for a special exemption. If for some reason, you're in the hospital or you're deployed or something along those lines, there should be a process. Maybe they can apply for a 6-month, special exemption. I'm going to get to it. I just can't get to it now. And then they could renew that. I don't think we should be making that decision. I think that should be the Board of Adjustment and Code Enforcement. It's like a grace period kind of thing, which allows for a certain amount of forgiveness and understanding of extenuating circumstances. I also don't think that the amount of liens that we put on the properties should ever exceed the real value of that property. So if somebody comes in and says, I've got this property under contract for sale for $50,000, but I've got $60,000 or $70,000 worth of liens, I think we should definitely reduce those liens to, as long as the property is under contract, that we should reduce the liens and brought into compliance, that the liens get reduced and maybe reduced to the sale value minus 10% to help them cover closing costs so they can just walk away scot-free with no financial burden. But the reality is, if you inherit a piece of property and there's a mortgage on it, you inherit the mortgage. If you inherit a piece of property and there are liens on it, you inherit the liens. If you inherit a piece of property and there's a dilapidated building on it, you inherit the dilapidated building. The city shouldn't be, lending a helping hand to person A, but then being like, I don't know how we feel about person B. We're not going to help them out as much. That is a real problem for me. So there are 2 schedules. I strongly feel that
Where did you get these?
Sue generated them by looking at what other cities have done. And am I correct? Yeah, she did some research and came up with and again, this is just some ideas out there. I think that there's another option, which is that the amount that we charge is lessened so that we don't have to offer as much forgiveness. Because again, why do we have codes if we're just going to turn around and be like, don't worry about it, no problems. We're going to let you just walk away from the mess. Getting off my soapbox.
Yep, you're entitled to it. And you bring up a lot of really good points with it.
Points that we have all struggled with in the past.
Yeah, and we haven't done anything with. I hate to say that, number one, that we're going to do it, and by establishing this, we're saying that we're always going to do it, one way or the other. Sometimes it is not the person and how I feel about them, but the is situational, I believe. And I think that's what you're saying. Sometimes maybe it doesn't need to be situational, but I think sometimes it's very situational. And the situations that we had were very different from each other. One was an inheritance. Mr. Seaboaks may have been an inheritance too, except his mom's still alive. But he did clean his up. The other one had a buyer. And I will say the fact that they have a buyer is usually the reason that they come to us.
Yeah, because they want the money from the sale, and meanwhile their neighbors have taken a financial hit because they haven't cleaned their property.
The other thing too is we have said in the past, and we've never really put our foot down with it, to watch that fair market value of the property. And like you say, if the fair market value is $50,000, that when it gets to $25,000, we begin a foreclosure process.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a lot of years already at $25. And I will say the highest one is $250 a day. I mean,
we can go as high as we want. I mean,
it's a wide range. It depends on how bad it is and how many times they've tried, and some of those things that you said are already in what the Board of Adjustments is already done or doing. They've established procedures themselves that we may not necessarily know about.
Ms. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Is this when it would be the best to have a magistrate handle this?
Well, I don't know.
Still have to have a rule.
Kirsten would have to ask if I think you guys are the ones who are still going to do a lien reduction. I think it's very clear that the council members want a few things to be established. probably before a lien reduction is even asked for, there's a certain vetting that we could probably do to help out the situation so that it's not as arbitrary. One of the things is we could, at the will of the council, make sure that this property is in compliance before they see you.
Absolutely.
And if it's not in compliance before they see you, they better have a good reason for it. Also, we could be more specific about how long, because honestly, the Seabrooks, I had it all in my head, but I probably should have written that staff report, not the city clerk, because I have the information and she didn't. So I could write a more in-depth staff report about the timeline and what happens. If we could vet it a little bit better for you, I think it would be a little bit clearer for you. But every story is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And I can bring more properties for foreclosure. I've brought that one, and you guys said you didn't want to foreclose on it. You guys can tell me, just bring them all to me, and we'll make those decisions, and I could do that. Because we do have liens. I think we're cleaning them up. There were a lot of liens when I first got it, and a lot of them got cleaned up, or the properties got sold, or whatever. So we could make a really good vetting process for you guys. But either way, you're going to have a story. Everybody's going to have a story.
If we had a reduction application, maybe, with a staff report behind it. I know that makes work for you.
No, that's
but
okay.
At least we would have all the facts.
We could give a recommendation. Yeah, we could say this is a 6 to 8 year. This is a maximum. Maybe instead of saying 80% and making it look like that's what we're going to do, maximum of 80%.
Yeah.
And I would give you those numbers, and it would be a little bit more clear for you.
Now, the gentleman who, Mr. Seabrook, the impression I got was when he first learned about the fines from his mom, I guess she didn't understand, that he had right away started to get the place cleaned up. That was my impression.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I probably need to write the real timelines for you guys. Almost as if the same type of staff report that I write for Code Enforcement Board, I should be writing for you guys when there's a lien reduction.
Or just give us theirs.
Or I could give you theirs.
I mean, I've seen theirs. They're great. I mean, you're very specific on those.
So I think a lot of those
probably what we
questions
need
will
to
be
know.
answered.
But I think, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
And is there an option to kind of help with that lien is if they go and get, like he did, went and got a permit or something in order to have 6 months to be able to clean it up? Can we stop the lien?
That wasn't, no, that permit was, that's just he had to get the permit.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was already
needed the
tearing it down
permit.
without a permit. He hadn't needed a demolition
Yeah, he
permit.
went ahead
Okay.
and tore it down, and then we were like, oh, yikes, you need a permit. So then he got the permit, and then because he had time frame, he just took his time. It was a very expensive ordeal for him. I understand why it took so long. It took a long time. That's why we had to get him in front of Code Enforcement. We kept getting complaints about it.
Mr. Barber.
I understand why you guys did that with that particular case. I just want to keep in mind, like, you look at that property, it's not developed. He can't develop anything on it. It doesn't meet the criteria of any kind of setbacks. So that's why I came up and asked him. I said, are you interested in selling it? If he had said yes, I was going to recommend to the council, we have $50 million worth of grants with DEP right now to expand all the sewer out in that northeast section, 250 homes. We're going to need spaces to put lift stations, to put some assets if we do that expansion. So when you look at a piece of property like that and you had $11,000, I would have made the suggestion that we talk to them and say, okay, if you don't have any plans, you don't plan on even doing anything, maybe we not only suspend the liens to a degree, but we also offer to buy it at a reduced rate because it doesn't really have any use for you or your family. So I hope that in the future you guys maybe table some of these matters so that staff has a chance to inform you as to what the potential use or what kind of deal could be made through the city attorney and talking to some of these folks if they already have fines on the property, that maybe that's the opportunity for the city to come and say, yeah, we could reduce, but we want to be the purchaser. And that could put an opportunity for us to expand some things where we need to put crucial infrastructure as we continue services into parts of town that don't necessarily have them. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Very good
Were
point.
you aware that he was going to come up here
When I read the agenda a few minutes before I came
okay. I was just asking.
Yes, ma'am.
And isn't it?
Because I was going to say that would have been an opportunity. Okay.
Isn't it contiguous to his mom's property?
I don't think it is.
Across the street from his mom's property.
Yeah.
But it's contiguous to somebody else.
Somebody
We
else,
talked
yeah.
about that that neighbor's really the only person who could buy it.
Yeah.
So
unless we
That
we
could do
use
anything
it.
with it.
I thought you said you could put another house on it.
No,
No, it's not
put a house on
no.
the property.
It's not room for setbacks to put a house on. It's too little, narrow, or whatever.
Under new guidelines?
No, under any guidelines.
Under the same guidelines.
But there was a house that sat there.
Yeah, no, they
So
were not
how
legal.
did that house get there if it was not under the...
It was not a legal house ever.
It was forever.
It's not even an old legal
Probably 100
plat.
years old.
It was an old house, yeah. But it was a brick house.
So could
It
we?
wasn't permitted.
Gotcha.
So could we? Let's say, if we're going to penalize them, take them to half of the value of the property, and then from there just go to foreclosure. Because if they're
That's
not
what we
going to
talked
clean it
about,
up to, if they're not going to clean it up to half of the value of the property, then let's just go to foreclosure.
And because you give them plenty of warning.
Are you telling me that you're directing me to do that?
It's just a,
to bring it
I'm
to you
throwing
if
it to
it's
you.
if
Just
the
to see
lien
what
is
you
half
think.
the value of the property, to bring it to you guys for foreclosure?
After you've warned them.
Yeah.
Of course, your Board of Adjustments has
I
already
don't
warned
have to
them.
warn them.
I know,
So-
but I think we should.
No,
I don't think
so-
we should do foreclosure unless we warn somebody.
Well, what we do, I mean, Kirsten can.
Because we don't need land. We just want them to fix it. To make it compliant.
By the time you're going to foreclosure, it's going to be
That's
yours.
not our purpose.
You're not.
No.
By the time you're going to foreclosure, this is land that you wanted. Don't ask us to foreclose on land that you're not interested in or that you don't want to sell, because it's a process. Kirsten will explain it to you.
Well, I know it's a process, but you can't just keep the lien piling on there. That's what we're doing now.
That's what we're doing now. Yeah. But we also can't
Don't need to do
foreclose on a
that.
homestead anyway. So I could have a homesteaded property that
Right. I realize
the
we
lien
can't.
could be on for 30
But if
years.
nobody's living in it, it's not a homestead.
If it's homesteaded, it's homesteaded.
If it qualifies for the homestead exemption, I mean, there's nothing that we can really do.
I know, but
to
think about the
dispute
last
that.
3 or 4 we've done. They weren't places people have lived.
Sure, I mean, most of the properties that come in front of you are not homestead, because when we go through the code enforcement process, if you are living on the property, you tend to clean up the property.
Right.
Generally speaking. There are a lot of considerations for foreclosure. You have to consider that you're essentially fronting the money for what the process is going to take. Now, we've been very lucky that all of our foreclosures have been relatively non-combative with
Confrontational, yeah.
yes, with the defendants in those foreclosures. That is not always the case, and that can get extremely pricey, extremely fast. So the ones that we've done have been, several $1,000s, and that's for we default someone because they never respond, and we go to a sale and we take their property, and even that process with the petition fees and the attorney's fees and the foreclosure fees and all of that stuff is a couple $1,000s for you to do each and every time. Then we have the process of, and I want to make sure that everyone's clear on what happens in a foreclosure sale. If we get a judgment of foreclosure in a case, there's then a public sale at the courthouse. It's not our property. We bid up to our lien amount. So if our lien amount is $50,000, then we can bid up to $50,000 on that property. I usually start at $100 and we go up from there. And then anything over that we would have to pay if we wanted the property. Otherwise, if someone bid $51,000, then they would have that property. It would be subject to no liens or fines. So the property owner could come in, pay off all of that, outbid our lien, and then continue to be in non-compliance. Now, the problem with that is then you have to start the code enforcement process over again because you've got to rack your fines up enough to put a lien on the property, to go through a foreclosure sale, et cetera, et cetera. So that is a risk that you run. It's not just automatically ours if we get a foreclosure. Now, it could be a good thing that happens because somebody could come in and bid $51,000 and really clean the place up and make it something nice, but it's not a guarantee. So it's just something that you need to consider. Foreclosure sales are useful in some situations, but they have a lot of drawbacks, and if they can be avoided through some kind of agreement, typically that's better.
Ms. Ballou, tell them about the first one you did here. Remember the small house? It was the first one you did. Remember, and then they came to you at the very last minute and
Yeah, so we went through an entire, this was, I believe, the Flournoy property.
yeah, Flournoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we went through all of the
say
code
Florenzi.
enforcement requirements. We went through the process to file the lien. We went through the foreclosure process. And right before the final hearing, they came in, they said, I've cleaned everything up. We've done all the things I'm supposed to do. And then they paid what was required. And so then that was it.
So were they not obligated to pay the lawyer's fees?
Well, we got our money.
They were not obligated to pay. Not under, because we didn't have a final judgment. If we'd gotten to a final judgment, if everything hadn't been paid and put together and figured out before then they would have to, through the sale of the property would be used to pay our fees. But if you don't get to that judgment stage, then they don't have to pay the fees. So we just ate however much that was.
Except that they paid the
They
liens.
paid the liens, which would pay the attorney's
Which would
fees.
pay the attorney's fees.
Yeah.
It depends. And so,
In
but
that
that's,
case.
but one of the issues is, okay, if we start saying, let's hurry up and foreclose on these, you're going to have smaller liens, which I think is what you want, but is also kind of a disadvantage in a foreclosure because it's much easier for it to be paid off right at the last minute and then come through.
I honestly don't want the property. I don't really want to foreclose, but the threat of foreclosure, that's why I said notify them.
Mhm.
They would do it before we went to foreclosure. They would clean it up.
Ideally, absolutely.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to get them to do.
And your staff does an excellent job of making sure, the amount of times that I've talked to Dawn and before that Wayne about, where are we with this property? And they say, I've been working with this individual. It doesn't even get to code enforcement until your code enforcement
just give
officer
up.
says, hey, I just can't get them to do anything.
Which is yet another reason why we shouldn't be reducing it 95%, because by the time it gets there, you guys have done so much work, put so much work and effort into it. Like, my personal opinion, obviously, is that is far too generous for people. And again, totally understand there are some extenuating circumstances, but yeah.
And I didn't mean for that to come across as like an opinion one way or the other on this. Those are just the pros and cons.
So me looking at your draft of a fee schedule, I'm leaning towards the second. Just because I think there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, even though Don may be riding around throughout the day, it's gas, it's wear and tear on the vehicle, and it might not be that particular place every day, but how do you gauge it?
And the people who live next door,
Yep, if they want to sell their property, they're kind of screwed.
And I'm the opposite. I could never go with the second one.
Why?
Because if it's been 10 years, I can think of places that it has been 10 years. I can think of the old Winn-Dixie. I can think of Homestead Park. It had $250,000 worth of fines on it. And because Mr. Crandall came in here and said, I will fix this within X period of time if you reduce these fines and let me buy it. He never would have bought it if he had to pay $250,000 on top of what the purchase price was.
Did he own it?
No.
Okay.
It was a buyer, just like the situation we had last week, our last meeting.
But the person who owns the place is not the person that came and asked for a reduction.
No, it was the buyer.
They did in a letter. They actually lived in Orlando. And they had more money than they knew what to do with. They could have paid it if they wanted to. That's why they own shopping centers all over the place. But that particular one, they didn't care about. because of the shape it was in.
Right, but I'm talking about the fee reduction that the buyer came and asked for a reduction. It wasn't like the people who owned it asked for a reduction. I think
But
that's
the
a little
only
bit
reason
different.
he would, but if we said, no, it's been more than 10 years, we're not going to reduce it, he would not have bought it.
But the people that are coming in and asking for fee reductions are the people who own the property.
Sometimes Mr. Martin hadn't bought it yet, but he wouldn't have bought it if we hadn't reduced the lien.
But had he come in and asked, then we could have looked at it in that retrospect. So I think with the fee schedule, it should be based on the person who owns the property.
And I don't think it should be I don't think we should do it at all.
Well, I think
Because I think that I don't want them to think I'm automatically going to do that.
No, I don't think it should be automatic. It should be no more than or up to, you know, that this is the most we can offer.
Because I mean they're getting a reduction. They could be asked to pay the full entire thing.
May I ask you a question?
Yes, sir, you may.
If you top out the liens at half of the cost of the property, what is the method you're going to use to cause them to ever clean up the property? Did you get to half of the cost of the property? Fine, you got the lien on it. We're not doing nothing. Who cares?
I'm not capping it out. I'm going for
That
foreclosure.
was suggested earlier.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
No, that was
I just said let's foreclose on it if
to
it gets
go
to
to
half the value.
foreclosure.
Is what I said.
What was that, Ms. Jones?
That was to go to foreclosure, when you wanted me to start bringing things to foreclosure when the lien was half the value of the property.
Yeah, that's what we had talked about years ago, a couple of years ago.
And my question to that is, what if it's property you don't want because of the liabilities of the property?
There's been twice
and
that has happened.
you have put it into a position of a resolution of the city, and suddenly you have to foreclose on property that has hazardous waste.
Well, we chose not to.
Yeah.
She
A
brought
policy doesn't
I'm
have
just
to be a
saying that's when
resolution.
she needs to bring it to us.
Right, Kirsten?
Not that we have to do it.
A policy doesn't have to be a resolution. And city council actually went against me for that. I wanted to foreclose on that
Yeah.
property. And my staff report said, let's do it. And they didn't want to because they were
We
afraid,
were
of
afraid to.
the
Yeah.
DEP. But I worked with that for 15 years. Don't trust me. It's not a big deal.
We need to
Question
listen
is,
more to you, Ms.
How do we
Jones.
incentivize people to keep their property to code and not have further blight in this community? That's the question. That is the question. And 90 and 95% forgiveness does not
not do it
incentivize
at
anybody
all.
to do anything to keep it up.
Maybe notifying them monthly what their fine currently is.
Okay, but that incurs a cost.
Mr. Barber?
It's a stamp.
Today,
No, everything I do is certified. It's all $9
They know.
a letter
Oh my
now.
gosh, that
so it's
$25.
$10 every notice.
It's $10
Mr.
a
Barber
letter.
up here.
I'm still talking.
Oh,
Well, he was up here to talk, and then you
Well, he
jumped
got up
on.
while I
and-
was talking, Mike.
Mr. Barber.
I wasn't through with my sentence.
Mr. President, I was just going to ask if you could ask the attorney if you guys want to create a policy. I know Ms. Jones and the mayor talked about like the issue with Homestead. You have a developer or a buyer come in. Is it not true that however you guys set up the policy or the resolution or the ordinance, that you could say that the person who's the owner and the person who has the infraction could have a different policy than how you enforce it with a potential buyer? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you can write that any way that you see fit. So if you guys are concerned about a buyer coming in and not wanting to buy it because you're not going to reduce because of a schedule, you could make an exclusion for developers that come in and present a program. You could even have stipulations as to a timeline for them to bring it up to snuff. And so I would check with your city attorney on that, because I believe that to be the case, that you could exclude that from this policy dealing with the actual owner that's responsible for the property.
So if you
And
have
the
the
fact-
if you have the buyer that buys it and cleans it up and does it, it's a win-win, because they have a vested interest.
So let's just go back to the last one, not today. But because that buyer really seemed like he wanted the property. Did anybody ask him how much he was willing to pay for it? No, we just automatically just reduced it without trying to figure out the cost. So, I mean, would we have reduced it for the buyer potentially, or the seller is selling it and getting this huge reduction, and then they could have paid some of that fee more than what they
I would have
paid.
done it for the owner if it was cleaned up. Because it wasn't cleaned up, I only would consider it because the buyer wanted to buy it and make it up to code. I wouldn't have done it for the owner because they have not cleaned it up after all this time.
Well, I think that's another thing you can put back on me or on the staff. If it's grass and they could have cleaned it up a bit, and because that's really what this lien was about, it wasn't about the building. I can vet that too for you, and I can tell them you cut that grass and you can come to city council.
The roof's falling in on it.
Yeah, but it wasn't about this lien was not about the building. It was just unsafe.
It was everything around.
Yeah.
But on that note, on Monday, our code enforcement meeting, we will be talking about our new IMPC, International Maintenance Property Code, that we would like them to establish, and you will also see it. So if you're interested in hearing what they have to say about it, you can't talk because you're going to vote, right, Kirsten? It's an ordinance.
You can attend the meeting and make comment in the public meeting, but it will have to be in the public meeting.
In the public meeting. And this is going to help us not so much with this exact problem of lien reductions and when and why. It's going to help us have a lot more teeth with our code enforcement. So it's not just going to be about tall grass anymore. It's going to be very helpful.
So in an effort to kind of wrap this up, if we have Kirsten write up a policy and bring it back for the council to vote on at a further date, would that be the next appropriate step?
I can absolutely write up a policy. I'm hoping that I will get some sense of what we want that to look like.
Yeah.
So should we decide which one of these that we're wanting her to potentially look at, or is she going to look at both of them?
There might be some other things
It doesn't even have to be
Donald Barber,
anything.
Donald brought up, and some of the other, maybe we just put it all together in one policy, this being a part of the policy, and then some of the other things that were discussed can be added in. I guess we could all write her with our thoughts and
I could also take what we have here, what we've discussed, and sort of, it won't be perfect language because I don't want to take a ton of time to write something if we're not going to like it, but just have a couple of options for different parts of the policy. So the policy all together, but like section 1 will have like, you can do this schedule or this schedule. And then section 2 is option 1. You can do something different for buyers and owners or do the same for buyers and owners, and then sort of narrow it down like that. And then once you choose between the options on each section, I can sort of formulate a policy. It won't be like beautiful language because I don't want
a draft.
But we could come back and vote on each piece individually, and then that brings us
and
to
then I could
more
create
complete
a policy for you.
Sounds good.
I can do that.
We can do it.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you.
All right, item 8, public participation. This is your second opportunity to address the council. At this time, anybody in the audience can come to this podium and speak for 5 minutes. All right, please state your name and where you're from.
My name is Corey Bryan. I'm from Morriston, Florida. I just wanted to say hi to everybody. I am the new chamber president for this year. I look very forward to working with all of you, and you guys are doing a great job. But if you need anything from me with the chamber, please, I'll be right here with Carolyn and help you any way we can. So thank you guys very much.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sitting through all this.
Item 9, announcements. Staff.
I have a couple.
Yes, sir.
First one being Aaron and I have looked at incorporating GPS system in our patrol vehicles. Aaron has done a great job with getting the equipment that we need to do that. We will be working on that in the next few weeks. That way we will be able, the dispatch will be able to monitor where our vehicles are. So I'm super excited about that. The chief meeting, it is in June 14th through the 18th. It's in Miami, Florida. Today we had an inspection in reference to our government surplus firearms and our armored vehicle. It was completed today with 100% compliance, so we're excited about that. And we will be submitting the paperwork to return all of our government surplus items because of the generous donation we got from FHP reference to rifles. We no longer need the government surplus rifles anymore. And the Hummer, that is very nice looking Hummer, but is very costly maintenance wise. We're going to return that in hopes of getting a better one.
That Hummer.
No, I wish it was electric. It'd be cheaper to operate. So that's all I have.
All right. Staff? Anybody else? Mr. Barber?
Two things real quick. One is when Sue and I go up to rural county days, we just didn't want to go up and do meet and greets and get pictures. We do have some meetings with DEP, the people who actually make the decisions on the grants that we have. And then we're also trying to set up, haven't heard back, but we've got a potential appointment with Swift Mud to go over our brick grants. I know there's a lot of stormwater concerns. I think some people got a letter even about that this week, as a matter of fact. And we're trying to meet with them and make sure we can get as far in those grants as we can as well. The DEP and the Swift Mud represent about $60 million in grants, so it's real vital that we try and be as effective as we can while we're up there. And then the last thing I had is we are coming into conference season. We have conferences with Florida Gas Utility, Florida Rural Water, FMPA, all these wonderful conferences that some of us department heads really need to go to. And a lot of these things have modules that they encourage elected officials to go to. So if you would be interested in one particular thing, you'll learn a lot. You'll meet a lot of people in the industry. I know because of Sunshine, a lot of you don't like to go at the same time, but if one of you or two of you would like to possibly talk about that, we have a schedule. And, sometimes we come back and report things, but sometimes when you hear them for yourself, it makes it a lot more understandable. So if you're interested in that, please let us know. And we're going to have some in April, some in May, some in August, some in July. So those are important meetings, and we just wanted to put them out there for you.
All right, I'll take a copy of that schedule.
Thank you. I'll send it to you.
All right. All right. Staff, anybody else? All right. Council? Nobody? All right, two things I've got. July 3rd is coming up quick. That is our 4th of July. So the expectation from our council members is we have the watermelon that we do for slices of watermelon for kids. So if you're coming out to it, you expect it to work at least 2 people for an hour, and then somebody else, another 2 come back, and the other ones can go. So, because I know since I've been going out there with it, it seems like it's always the same ones that are there, but yet other councils are there. So, other council members are there. So that's what I would like to see. Charter. I know it's a touchy subject, but every meeting that we go to, and we talk to other council members, stuff like that, they are surprised that we're 2-year terms. When we have other municipalities, their council people are 3, 4. Don wasn't there one at 5 and 7 years with it. So last year when I brought it up to discuss about let's just change what our terms are, I got the impression that we had to start from the beginning and go through it. I talked to Lynn Tipton with Florida League of Cities, and she said, no, that is not true. You can take segments and just do those. Because if you try to tackle the charter all at one time, she said you'll never get through it. So, not this next meeting, but the next one there, I'd like for us to do that. Now, my recommendation is it is the council that will set for the term limits. Anything else from there, then we do a board, whether it's council and public.
Start over, 'cause I don't know what that means.
So in other words, for the amount, our term limits.
Yep.
Or term limits or
Our-
2-year,
our
3-year,
term,
4-year,
not
our
term limit,
terms,
but term.
is we can set that as council. After that point, then we can pick if we want to do it like we talked before, where we have some members of the community be on there for the charter to make changes.
We can't, I don't think we can do it without a referendum.
So I think what you're saying,
I don't know what
please correct me if I'm wrong. I think the proposal is that this council sit as the charter review committee specifically for that section
Correct.
of the charter regarding term limits of the council, and then make a recommendation on what they want the finding to be. We'll do the ordinances as required. We'll put it to the referendum. But once the ordinances have gone through and this council is sat for that one section, then make a determination of how you want to do the rest of the charter review, i.e. appoint a commission or review board, or some of you have had different ideas on how you want that to look, but address that after that first full process. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Does that make sense?
So if I can ask, are you saying that the council can change the terms?
We cannot.
Good, because
That's what
I
he
didn't
said,
think we
but I
could.
did not say that.
No, I'm just saying that I know it's got to go
It has to be
to be
voted
as a
on.
vote.
Yes.
But for us to sit here and say, okay, we're going to go from 2 years to 3 years or to 4 years. All right, then that way then it can be sent out, do whatever we have to do, then sent out for election time and people can vote on it.
Yeah, for the record, I totally agree with you. What we have is 2-year terms, and it takes a year just to figure out what's going on. And the next year, you're beginning to get your feet wet, and then you're out, you're in an election. I would be surprised if a lot of, every time it's been brought up to me, they said, really?
That's it.
It is a very difficult thing for you to learn everything you have to learn, and about the time you learn it all, you got to go through another election. And a new person comes in, and they're starting all over. I have told many people many times that our council are people that are normal people. They're not politicians. Although we are, they're not politicians in that they have a permanent office and they learn everything as they go, but they're new people every 2 years, or at least the potential. And it is very difficult. I am impressed that you can get anything done. So I agree with you. Just the technique, I don't know.
And everybody that we talk to, when asked how long we do it, say the exact same thing that you say is, well, your first year, you're just trying to figure it out. And then your second year, you're getting into it, and then you got to worry about, well, are you going to run for re-election? Yep. And then that's where your focus goes.
Yep.
So.
I commend you for bringing it up. It takes a lot of courage.
Well, been trying to bring it up for a couple years, and each time get told that, well, we got budget coming, so we don't have time. So we need to make the time.
First time I've heard you bring up
Well,
that one
I would-
subject. I agree with you totally.
Because
I
the
agree.
last time that I brought it up, it was the way that it was brought and the way that it was said from this council is that we
You know about
lost
the
train
federal
of thought.
charter review, though.
No, not the whole thing.
That's the
That's
only thing
the
I
impression was it was the whole thing that had to be done at one time. And I talked with Linda Tipton from Florida League of Cities, who helps with charters. She said, no, you can do one segment at a time.
Sure. I mean,
Agree.
I'm not disputing that. I just thought when you brought it up, though, you brought up the whole charter review. I've never heard you say,
he didn't.
let's do one thing. Yes,
He didn't. No, actually, he didn't. He has said before
He didn't
because
say just one
because
piece.
we have gone to the same meeting.
Well, he may have said
And
you, but he didn't say that.
He said here, Miss Deborah.
I
It's
heard.
fine if you didn't hear it,
I did not.
but I heard he did.
Last
He did come and say about doing 4-year terms. Now that being said,
Well, he did.
I'm
He
glad
didn't say
that
let's
you
change this one part.
I'm glad that you brought that up,
did.
Mr. Cox.
Didn't hear it.
Mike, I'm glad you brought it up because that was going to be the same thing that I was going to bring up tonight as well, because I have talked to our attorney who did say the exact same thing. And I would like to see us move to 4-year terms. But then I have something else. Are we done with that subject?
We're good.
So I
No?
just want to clarify, just so that I have a sense, at the next meeting, what you all would do, if this is how we want to move forward, we'll bring before you, you all have to appoint yourselves to sit as the Charter Review Commission for that. So that would be step one. Then you need to do the review. Those two can happen at the same meeting if you choose.
Review that section, you're saying.
Right, review that section. Those two can happen simultaneously, one after the other. Then, based on your change, I would create an ordinance, which would be then read at the next meeting, first time, next meeting, second time. Then it would need to go for referendum. It will, in 0 instances, make it for your April election.
Right.
That will not occur.
No way.
So that will not occur. You have the choice of a special election. If you wanted to do a special election for the referendum, we could reach out, which is a cost associated with it, and you're going to give Latricia gray hair, but I'm just giving you your legal options. Or you could attempt to reach out to the supervisor of elections and see if you could get onto the November election for that referendum. As well, sort of piggyback on that to save on costs. So those are your choices. I just don't want anyone to think that this will be a fast process, even though we're doing it pretty quick on the ordinance. To get it onto a referendum ballot will be a little bit longer.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Please come to the podium, state your name, where you're from.
Robert Langen, 500 Northwest 5th Street here in Williston. I don't care. I mean, to me, I agree what the mayor said. You change all of you out, it's crapshoot, pardon my French. What we did on HOA board when I was in Ocoee before I moved up here, we had the same situation. Every year, we staggered them where 2 were replaced this year, 3 were replaced next year. You might, whatever your term limits are, 3 years, 2 years, 4 years, whatever. Consider staggering your personnel.
Yeah. We're staggered.
We're currently staggered.
Okay.
We're staggered.
Just don't forget that part.
Yeah.
No.
No, thank you, sir. No.
Okay. All right. So the other thing that I had was, I know you guys went out and put up the sign for Miss Seabrooks. Passing by, I see that whomever is doing whatever they're doing there at the house, looks like they're digging up again, and now the sign is leaning. So I don't know if we can move the sign closer to a different area or back a little bit further, but the sign is leaning again, and it looks like it has been dug up. So I'm not sure what exactly is going on at that location.
I'll take a look at it and see what we can do. No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Wright, you got anything? No? Mr. Mayor?
Nothing.
All right. All right. Well, if nobody else has any announcements, Ms. Sue? Any announcements?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
I move we adjourn.
All right. Item 10's adjournment. Got it?
Motion. Second.
Who made the motion?
Miss
Deborah.
I heard Alexa do it.
She's
second.
I made the motion.
All right.
Go through
For a
the
second.
process.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The time is now 8:30 p.m. This meeting's adjourned.